we're going to start from the introduction to Python first. So in order to find the introduction Python course, I need the search box here. And then the first one is the introduction to Python. And as I said before, I already have done all of this. So the button here is different from yours. So I'm going to replay the course and I can see all the things here. And this is the first video of the introduction to Python, but I'm going to skip this one because this is really simple. So you just press the button, got it here, and then you can go to the first exercise. And before we go into the first exercise, I need to explain the layout of the screen first. So basically there are 4 parts. So top left is called the exercise, and it explains some theory or some explanations. And then below that, you can see the instructions. And this is something you should do with your Python experiment. And on the right-hand side, we have 2 separate screens. The first one is called script.py. And this is the program you are going to practice. And under that screen, there is another blinking, as you can see here, there is another blinking cursor, and its name is IPython shell. And this is some sort of a practice shell. So maybe I can write something here, say hello, and then press the enter, and it shows me, okay, you got an error. Because it's a trace back and something. I will explain what it means later. But the first step here is we need to distinguish these 4 different parts of your screen. So on top left is explanation under the name of exercise, and the bottom left is the instruction you should follow. And on the right hand side, you have 2 different kinds of programs. The above one is the so this is the program, and the right below is it's called the way we interact with the computer. So let's follow the instruction first. And it says, the first instruction says, experiment in IPython shell type 5/8, for example. And then you need to follow the instruction. And what I write here is 5 and slash, and actually that slash is divided by number 8. And what we can expect from this is probably it's 5 divided by 8, so it will give you some number. And when I press the enter, it shows that your answer is 0.625. So I just follow the first instructions here. And then, okay, one more thing. The script.py, it's different from yours because as I said before, I already done everything. So this is the answer. So I'm gonna reset to the original conditions, and this is I think that this is exactly what you are seeing now. So the second instruction said add another line of code to the Python script on the top right, not in the shell. Print 7 plus 10. So the 2 different things on your right hand side is the upper one is called the script screen, and the lower one is called the shell. So according to the second instruction, I am going to write the print 7 plus 10 in the script, not on the shell. So I'm going to write print, open the parenthesis, and then it will automatically add to the right parenthesis to you. And 7 plus 10. And then if I press the enter here, it just goes down. So this is not what I want. So I'm going to go back to the original one. and I don't know how to run this program. And actually, the third instruction said hit submit answer to execute the Python script and receive feedback. So that means you have three buttons here. The first one is reset to the sample code. That means it reset to the original contents. So if you did something on your script files, then moving to the next file, the something is already saved in here. But if you want to practice again, then you need to reset to the sample code. And the second one is the run code. And run code means you are going to run the whole script from top to bottom. So when I press the run code, and the response shows in the shell. And the the four lines here is exactly the same as I typed in the script.y. And then we have the answer. So one is 0.625, which results from the first statement, print 5 divided by 8. And then second output is print 7 plus 10, which is 17. And then you finish this exercise. So there is, actually, this is just let you know how to interact with this screen. So it is, you don't have to know anything about the Python here. You just need to know how to interact with this screen. So again, arrow button resets to the sample code, and run code means you are trying to verify that your answer is correct before you submit. Because on the right-hand side button, the rightmost button is submit answer. And when I submit this button, the whole program, the whole script that I have just write is going to go to their server and then check that it is correct or not, and it gives me a feedback. So let me press the submit and submit answer here, and it shows me okay, great, and it gives me some feedback. So I got some XP. I think it's some sort of a game experience point, but you don't have to worry about this point yet. The more important thing is to know something, the know Python, not the point. And then when I press the continue button, then I am receiving the new exercise here. So it says when to use Python. Python is pretty versatile language. So for which applications can you use Pythons? So it asks me to answer. And usually this type of button is, there is only one answer and you cannot check more than two. So you just select one. So possible answer is you wanted to do some quick calculations for new business. You want to develop a database-driven website, and your boss asks you to clean and analyze the result of the latest satisfaction survey, and the final is all of the above. And I think Python is a very versatile language, and you can do some calculations, and you can develop a website with the Python, and you can also analyze some numerical or textual data. So I think the Python can do all of this. So now I submit the button, submit the answer, and said, correct. Python is an extremely versatile language. So that's it for now. So I'm gonna take a poll. Okay, let's move on to, in order to move the next one, I'm going to continue. Okay, now this is the real parts of learning the Python. The first thing we need to know is how to add comments. And what is comment? And comment is for a human being, not for the computer. And when you write the computer program on your right-hand side here, and there are lots of specific the programming language rules, and you should follow that those rules in order to do something useful. But sometimes as a human being, we need some explanations. And then with the way we add the expression is that use the sharp button here. As you can see here, the sharp button is in my keyboard. It's on number 3. So in order to press in order to type the sharp, you need to shift number 3. Then you can write the sharp button. And then after the sharp button, everything will be ignored by the computer. And this is just for me. So it says the division. Okay, so that means the next line, the print 5 divided by 8 is going to be used the division. So the instruction here is the above the print 7 plus 10 at the comments sharp addition. So let's practice. So maybe I can write sharp and addition. And that might be my answer. So before I submit I answer, I run the code, and it says on the below, yeah, it's division, and yeah, some Python code, and addition, and some Python code, and there are 2 outputs. But I don't care whether it is correct or not. The purpose of this exercise is how to add comments. The reason why we use this one first is that as your programming skill is developed, and there will be your program is going to be a really long. And then even if you write your program, you cannot remember every details once you finish your writing, finish your programming. So in order to remind yourself, you just need to add some comments. So this is what I'm going to add, and what is the meaning of these variable names, and what I'm going to do here. And then in this way, you can move your program to somebody else, and then the other one can read your code easily. But without that explanation, it is possible, but it is really difficult to read the code. So the first thing we need about the computer programming is how to add comments. So I submit the button, and it says great. So I'm going to continue. Okay, this is the, okay, I'm going to put it back to the original one. So I think this is the screen you see here, and Python as a calculator. So you can use Python as a calculator. And as we know that we can add and subtract and multiply, division, and all that different things can be done here. So we can add 2 numbers, and we can subtract numbers. So the first comment set is addition and subtraction, and it also we can also do multiplication and division. So I'm sure you are pretty familiar with this one. It's 3 star 5, and actually 3 times 5, and 10/2 is 10 divided by 2. And there are some more. Yeah, for example, the percent sign. It's not actually the percent, and actually it depends on the computer language. But the Python use it as a modulo, and modulo means if you divide 18 by 7, and there it does not divide it exactly, and there is some remaining numbers, and the Python can show you the remaining numbers. And there is another one, the 2 asterisks. So 2 asterisks 2 means actually is 4 to the power of 2. Okay, so before I follow the instructions, I just run the code, and I got some numbers. The first one is 10, because 5 plus 5 is 10, and 5 minus 5 is 0, 3 times 5 is 15, 10 divided by 2 is 5, and 18 divided by 7, the remainder is 4, I guess. Am I right? Yeah, it's 4. And 4 to the power of 2 is 16. Okay, now let's follow the instructions. Now, suppose you have $100 and you can invest with the 10% return per year. And after 1 year, you'll get $100, which is calculated by $100 times 1.1. And after 2 years, and we can, because we are using the compound interest rate, so the 1,000 times 1.1 times 1.1 is 121. So this is the instruction. Add code to calculate how much money you end up with after 7 years and print the result. Okay, here. Can you get the right answer? Let me show you how to use some bad tricks to see the answer. If you really don't know how to do that, and there is another button, take hint, and press it, and it shows you a much more detailed explanations, and try to take this hint and then try to write your own program and submit your answer. And if you really don't know how to do that, then there is another option. Just show me the answer. So I can show you the answer. And you notice that these two are different because the script.py is the original one that you need to fill out the answer, but by pressing the solution here, it shows you another Python script. And the final answer is this one. So 100 times 1.1 to the power of 7. And if you run this as your solution, well, it's okay, but you cannot get the extra, you cannot get these points. But that's fine, we can move on. So the first thing we need to know about the variable is that variable assignment. And I prefer to use the code itself. So savings is equal to 10. And when we learn about the equal sign in mathematics, the equal sign means right-hand side is equal to the left-hand side. So we can actually change it. But in programming, the equal sign does not mean exactly the same thing as in mathematics. The equal sign is actually means something like this. Of course, you should not write in this way, but the actual meaning of this assignment is this one. So on your right-hand side, there might be some number, there might be some expressions, and there might be another variables. And then when you evaluate on the right-hand side, you assign the value to the the left-hand side of variable names. So in here, savings is equal to 10, but it does not mean, of course, yeah, saving is equal to, I'm sorry, it's 100. The saving is equal to 100. But the strange thing is that if it is also valid that savings is something like 1. And from the mathematical point of view, this statement is wrong. It cannot be true because there is a variable and there is another variable plus 1. So it cannot be the same. But in computer programming, it's absolutely okay because once you have a variable, say savings, and you can add plus 1 and then save it again to the savings. That's the meaning of the variable assignment. So, that was the original one. So here, the x is equal to 5, and the rule you're going to follow is the first evaluate the value on your right-hand side, which means 5, and then assign that value to the left-hand side variable. So the only thing that can be on the left-hand side is not the variable. So for example, in mathematics, the 5 is equal to, x is equal to 5 is actually equal to 5 is equal to x. But the first one is correct in programming, but the second one is not correct because the left-hand side of the equal sign cannot be a number. It should be a variable. So this way, this is wrong. So this is wrong. So you should not do that. So exercise said, create a variable savings with the value 100, and then check out this variable by typing print savings in the script. So script is here. So let's practice. So the answer is this one. So savings equal to 10, and then print, open the parentheses and savings, and close the right parentheses. And run the solution, and this is correct. Okay, now the calculations with variables. I'm gonna put it back. So create a variable savings. So create a variable growth multiplier equal to 1.1. So the first one is one savings 100. So that is your principal amount. And then we need to create the variable called the growth multiplier, and then put a number 1.1 there and calculate the result. So create a variable result equals to the amount of money you saved after 7 years. So you need to calculate the variable result here and then print out the value result here. So I'm gonna show you the answer. So saving is 100. The growth multiplier is 1.1. The result is equal to savings times growth multiplier to the power of 7. And then we are gonna print the result. Okay, so one more thing that I wanted to mention is that the variable name. So this variable name is pretty long, but usually the usual recommendation is that use the variable name that is very meaningful. So because yeah, you can do the same thing with say, okay, I'm gonna say this is S and this is 1, and my result is S times A times that, and then I'm gonna make it as R, and I just printed R. And when I run the code, I get exactly the same answer. And it's okay just for a moment, but after several weeks, you are trying to read the program like this. What was the S and what was A? And you cannot remember what was it. So the better practice is to use the name very specific and the very meaningful. So we use the variable, and the variable has different types. The first one is there are number type, and there is another one, the string type. So everything we can think about can be classified as number or can be a string. So that's easy. And the string is a string, but for the numbers, we need to think about what do we mean by numbers? And actually numbers can be very different. And from the mathematical point of view, the numbers can be integer, fraction, rational numbers, irrational numbers. But for the computer, the distinction is very clear. The one is the integer, and the other one is floating number. The floating number is something like this one. It's so 1 is okay. I'm gonna write down in the shell. So the 1 is 1, but 1.0 is 1.0. So in exact sense, 1 is different from 1.0 because the computer thinks that 1 is the type integer and 1.0 is the type float. Of course, these two are the numbers. If you compare these two numbers, whether it is equal or not. So as you can see, the two equal sign is to compare two values, and it says it's true. Yeah, it is true, but the type of these two are different. I don't, how do I know the type? And you just use this one, yeah, type of 1.0. Yeah, type of 1.0 is float, it says. It's a floating type. The floating type is it has a decimal point. That's the meaning of a floating type. And the integer type is something like 10. And it is an integer type. And string starts with the quote, double quote. So I can write anything. So anything, and it's just a string. And there's one more type, the bool. The boolean is whether it is true or false. And it's important to distinguish the true and false with the capitalizations. So it should, the first letter should be the capital one, the T or F. Okay, let's do instructions. So create new string, DESC, with the value compound interest, and create a new boolean, profitable, with the value true. How can I do that? You should try by yourself, but this is the answer. So compound interest rate, and it is just true. And how can I change the color of this one? And it is changed automatically, so you don't have to worry about it. You just write true here. Or even you can write false, and the color has been changed automatically. Of course, this is the wrong solution. I need to profitable should be equal to true, but I intentionally said false, so this is not the correct one. But I can still move on to the next one. So guess the type. A is 194 point something. Okay, what is B and what is C? And C is this. So you need to find the type. So A is number, which is float, and B is what? Is it Boolean or what? It's a string. The false here, the C is a Boolean because it does not have any quotation mark around it. But here, the true, it is a string because it's something like this. Okay, it's true. But it looks like the Boolean, but actually it's the word. So the answer is A is type float, B is type string, yeah, and C is of type bool. Okay, submit the answer, and I got it right. Operations with other types. So first, calculate the product of savings and growth multipliers store the result in year one. So that's okay. So savings is an integer, growth multiplier is 1.1, description is some descriptions. And then what do you think the resulting type will be? Find out printing out the type of year one. So first we need to calculate the year one here, and then the type of year one. So for example, and then I'm gonna write the type of, I'm gonna print the type of the year one. So it's print, open the parentheses, and type of year one. And then I can run the code, and it says, okay, it is a class of float. That's what I expect. And assign some of the description and description to double description. So what that means is we are going to make a new variable, double DESC, and then DESC plus DESC. It's strange because you can see the DESC is actually a string, the compound interest. But can you add two strings? In some sense, it does not make sense, but there is different rules. So this is specific for Python. So print out the double DESC. So double DESC. And run the code to see the result. So I'm gonna run it. And you can see here, this one, compound interest rate. So actually the addition to make it one string. I hope you get it. So I'm gonna submit my answer. Yeah, nice. Notice that DESC plus DSC cause compound interest and compound interest to be pasted together. So this kind of operation is called concatenation. Okay, now let's move on. And type conversion. So we saw the plus operator to paste two strings. Okay, that's okay. So maybe we can use this feature. So for example, here, the saving and result, and then there is a print statement. And this print statement is pretty long. And it has, the first one is a string. So because it starts with the double quote and ended with double quote. And then plus savings. And let's think about this one. Yes, savings is the number 100. So can we add these two? But there might be a problem. And the third one looks okay. And now have $sign. All of these are string. And the fifth one is awesome. But the result is a number. So when we run this code, this is a type error. So because I started with dollar is a string, but it's a float, it's an int, and it's a string, it's int. So since the plus operator, the plus operator are defined with two numbers, whether they are integers or floats, they can be okay, but it is not defined for string and numbers. Of course, operator plus can be applied to when both sides are string. That works, but this one does not work. So how can we fix this code? Well, fix the code such that the printout runs without error. Use the function string to convert the variable to strings. So how can I do that? So I'm gonna change this part. Savings is originally a number, but I'm gonna change it to the string. So that's the meaning of this function. So now the overall effect is the string. And I also need to change the result here because the result is a number. So I'm gonna change it to a string and then run the code. Okay, now let's solve the final one. Convert the variable PyString to a float and store this float as a new variable PyFloat. Okay, so we have a string. We know what pi is, and we know the pi is 3.1 point something, but actually the number here is not the number, it's a string because it is surrounded by double quotes. So I'm gonna change the pi string into a float. And how can I change it to float? And maybe this one, float. When you convert numbers to a string, we use the function string. Now we can use float function to convert string into a float. So maybe I can write PyString. And then I want to save it into another variable, PyString. And run the code. Yeah, and submit the answer. This is incorrect. So it says, did you correctly define the variable? By float. By float. Then submit the answer. Yeah, I got it right.